that we're listening to while we play Scrabble, and I'm beating you badly, badly as it happens, because you're holding out, as always, for the bingo. And iPod shuffles to that song from 1965, and at the same moment, it's a long, long journey, so stay by my side. And at that same moment, we look up from the board into each other's eyes and start to sing, badly as it happens. But our eyes are well and truly locked, and I see a sudden redness about yours, and tears, and at the same time feel them in my own eyes, simultaneous tears for a simultaneous bingo. And we finish the song together, not well, but truly. But if I should lose your love, dear, I don't know what I'd do, for I know I'll never find another you. Grace. If your particular spiritual suspicions stem from sister school, and if you had to choose one single word that stands out as the most important word in theology, that word would not be love or charity, nor would it be faith or hope, however indispensable those might be. No, the word would be grace. Die in the state of sanctifying grace, you go to heaven. Don't, and you burn in hell for all eternity. And while heaven never seemed, frankly, all that exciting, consisting as it did of praising God, still, burning in hell was the ultimate, considered the alternative, unanswerable argument. 2. Note. Books I've read are filled with underlines, little notes to myself, margins. And because of all the times I've been frustrated by things I couldn't remember, I've decided to do the same thing in my life, and I've become a notorious note-taker. I take notes at meetings, poetry readings. Sometimes people think I'm a reporter, or worse, a private eye, and want to kick me out. I've been legislated against. Still, I persist. I'm not an original thinker. I don't invent anything. I go through life taking notes, reporting back. 3. Stealth. The dictionary calls a grace note, quote, a note of embellishment not essential to the harmony, unquote, which strikes me as a perfect metaphor for poetry in America, non-essential and unimportant. Grace notes is my stealth, sneaking in under your radar. My way to say, all promising is all expect. The stealth insisted with which we passed out little notes could have been so important that we risked the wrath of Mr. Ildefonso, so urgent that it couldn't wait until 3:30. I cannot now recall the content of a single note that I received, initiated, or passed, because of course we never passed it without glancing at it furtively. So if you didn't want everybody else to know your business, put it in code, usual place, or meet me at FT, which stood for the Forbidden Territory. Or maybe you were arrested to Edward Teehan, because to get him you have to go through Virginia Court, and she was the one you really wanted to see, but you didn't want anybody to know that. You watch intently to read her reaction, some smile, some slightest indication, before she tapped Edward on the shoulder, but she never gave anything away. Still, with so many people looking at your writing, considering it, analyzing it, searching out hidden meanings, it gave one a taste for publication, as formative as it was furtive. 4. Grace notes. The Baltimore Catechism defined grace as the unmerited gift of God. A lot of my poems are about that kind of gift, the privileged moment poems, like the one in which my daughters and their friends bolt from the car at the gas station. In what reads like a scene from middle school musical 4, they burst into song and dance on the oily tarmac. Or the sad one, when the young father doesn't want to see the dead baby, because what's the point? But entering the elevator he just happens to bump into, coming out, the nurse carrying the little body in her arms, and he knows that he must stop her, and he does. What could that second chance be called if not part of suicide. You're not alone nor weird. I have scars from when I was 20. I didn't really want to die, but I didn't want to live either. And for one drunken moment, I felt like if I didn't do something, like slash my wrist, I'd be making a statement in favor of life, a statement I couldn't subscribe to. I felt compelled to manifest ambivalence. I remember a TV show. I can be precise about the date because I remember where I was and what I was drinking, and in those days I was only ever anywhere a few weeks at a time. A TV show of 1961. Todd and Buzz at the Grand Canyon. Todd says, "I'm afraid of heights." Buzz asks, "Afraid you'll fall?" Todd answers, "Afraid I'll jump." And something in me shouted, "Yes!" In 72, sober, married, and a father, I made a unilateral decision that they all would be better off without me. A decision, by the way, that's always unilateral. And I set out to drink myself to death. My resolve lasted one night. I woke up in the morning and acknowledged I wasn't tough enough for that life anymore. And if I did want to die, there must be far less demanding regimens. I crawled home begging forgiveness. After that marriage broke up in '86, bridge abutments called out to me on long drives late at night, but I never came close. I don't feel unusual in any of this. I tell you these things only because you opened up the subject. My second wife is a licensed counselor. If it had been she who read your blog, not me, should have been legally bound to take some kind of action, because almost everybody who actually does commit suicide talks about it first. A lot of people think about it, like I did with the bridge abutments, like you say you do around heights. But between that thought and the act are steps that people typically take, and going public, going from thinking about it to talking about it, is critical among those steps. Son, you crossed a line that set off alarms for everyone who loves you. I know you think I'm overreacting. Moreover, I suspect that in some convoluted way, putting that into your blog was a bit of a ploy, buffing up your tragic figure persona, bait for the dark beauty that you're always trawling for. Winona Ryder character in Beetlejuice, someone to play Drusilla to your Spike. In a bar in Dorchester in 1962, I told a girl how beautiful she was, and she wasn't bad. And tried to make her promise to hold out for a guy deserved so fine a girl. Told her I was sorry I couldn't be a candidate myself, but one way or another, I wasn't long for this world. It would have been okay if she'd just said she wouldn't have considered me anyway, but she had to add, "Do you have any idea how many times I've heard that line?" Hell, we're all always trawling for one another. I'll never cheat on Carol, but neither will I ever stow my net completely. Long after my one gun has fired its last quiet salute, I'll still be gaming to make beautiful women think, "Gee, I wonder what he would be like."
Oh my God.
Thank you, Carol. But when you wrote that line, and much more important, when you hit send, you took one very big step down one very slippery slope. And anyone who calls ourselves your friend must take that seriously. Most of your friends won't say anything right away because they see a lot of you. They'll want to wait for the perfect moment. The young always think there's time. I don't see you very often, and I'm old. I have my curmudgeon license. People have to put up with you. So let me tell you something. It's great to be old. I never thought I'd live to see 25, let alone 70. The Millennium Falcon has made it out the other side of the asteroid belt. No matter how many times you watch the movie, it always does. All those catastrophes I knew were lying in wait for me, none of them ever happened, except the ones that did. And them I dealt with. Because that's what we do, son. We deal. A nickel-dime dormitory poker game one drunken night in 1959. Most of us calling 5-card stud, 7-card stud baseball. But Bob Garvin was sipping grain alcohol stolen from his scholarship job at the chem lab. And when it was his deal, he invented a game that he called Dealer Wins. Pay attention to these rules. Quarter ante, no betting. Everybody gets 5 cards, except the dealer, he gets 4. Player to the left of the dealer leads, and play proceeds by tricks, just like no trump bridge. High card of suit led takes the trick. Winner of that trick leads the next. Everyone plays 1 card on every trick. Well, of course, that goes without saying. We thought we saw where this was going, and the flaw, we said, what if there's no clear winner? Him. What do you mean? Us. 2 people take 2 tricks each. He shook his head, said, tricks have nothing to do with winning. Us. Then how do you win? Him. The winner is the first person to run out of cards. Dealer wins. We always think we see where this is going, ever anticipating every flaw. We play every trick as if it were about winning. But it isn't. It's about dealing. Why do I tell you this particular story? I cannot demonstrate sufficient cause, but necessary cause is that I'm here, and I'm talking to you, and I remember it. If I weren't here, no one in the world would remember it. How hard we laughed. What did I see on my walk this morning? I saw no bears or cougars, though I did see flyers posted. Though sometimes I think they post those to attract more than discourage. I didn't see any hawks or eagles, not that I expected to at that hour. The early bird might get the worm, but he won't catch too many thermals at first light. And this morning I didn't see any coyotes. I thought I would. Later than I was out this morning, I've seen them hunting for mice in the meadow that runs alongside the Centennial Trail. Hunting in that cartoonish way they have of leaping up and coming down with all 4 feet together to try and crush the mouse or mole or shrew or vole or whatever little thing it is that's on their coyote breakfast menu. We've seen them doing that even while they pay absolutely no attention to the roosters crowing and the hens clucking in the pens anent the meadow. So no, this morning I didn't have one of those eerie visions of coyote crossing the trail in front of me, just barely visible through the morning mist like a ghost predator. Nor one of those eye-locked silent interactions in which I try to reassure psychically that I am not a credible threat, while coyote gazes back at me and seems to ponder whether I'm decrepit enough to be edible. This morning I saw no coyotes. What did I see on my walk this morning? 1 rabbit, and him I almost missed. He was far enough up the trail not to be spooked as I strode past, whispering silent prayers to myself, and to whom or whatever else might be attending. Not religion anymore, nor yet quite superstition. Someone friended me yesterday who's coined the term spiritual suspicions, and I now see that my prayer falls in that general area. I did see a deer, a big one, must have been a buck. But that wasn't technically on my walk. I was already in the car en route home when I spotted him in the field across the road just north of where the trail crosses. There was nobody behind me, so I pulled over and parked on the shoulder and got out to look at him. He was on the far side of the field, maybe 50 yards away, which he must have felt was a safe distance, because for 2 minutes or so he just stood there very still and we eyed each other. Then the traffic started to heat up and I went back to the car. What did I see on my walk this morning? That was about it for wild things. There was one other thing you'd probably like to hear about, sort of along the lines of that old swayback horse that every time we see it out in its pasture, you say, somebody must really love that horse. There was this old woman. When I say old, I'm saying my age, give or take a few. Possibly as young as you, but I thought not, but in that range. The old woman had a leash in one hand leading a retriever, no longer golden, clearly older in dog years than either of us, laboring a little but enjoying, as golden so obviously do, every aspect of this morning constitution. The old woman with her other hand was pulling a child's red rusted wagon, in which rode a second no longer golden retriever, this one even older, perhaps the mother of the one she led, and able to do not much more than lift its head and smell whatever cinemascope, high-definition 3D summer blockbuster olfactory spectacle it is dogs so enjoy. And somehow I knew this, that this woman understood as well as I, dogs get their kicks from their sense of smell, and she had somehow lifted, prodded, cajoled, maneuvered, leveraged her no longer golden retriever up into her car, and from there down into that little red wagon, so that even though it couldn't walk anymore, and who knows, maybe couldn't even see or hear, it could still smell the rabbits and coyotes, rooster and chickens, the birds and other dogs, maybe even the cougar and black bear, all those smells that were about all the pleasure that old dog was still capable of. What, my darling, did I see on my walk this morning? I saw love.